U.S. intelligence officials have concluded that North Korea has successfully produced a miniaturized nuclear warhead that can fit inside its missiles, crossing a key threshold on the path to becoming a full-fledged nuclear power. In a separate assessment, United States calculated last month that up to 60 nuclear weapons are now controlled by North Korean leader Kim Jong Un, though some independent experts think the number is much smaller. In the missile department, it is agreed by most experts that the recently tested Hwasong-14 could reach many U.S. cities. So, in the current scenario, it can be safely assumed that now North Korea has acquired the technological capability to target U.S. mainland with nuclear-tipped missiles. This situation hasn't gotten to this point suddenly, but took about 2 decades in the making. 3 American presidents before President Trump oversaw the impending crisis. In this video, Defense Updates looks at how 3 successive U.S. presidents failed to stop North Korean missile and nuke programs.
Number 3.
Clinton successfully negotiated the Agreed Framework of 1994, which resulted in the closure of North Korea's Yongbyon nuclear power plant in exchange for oil deliveries, a phasing out of economic sanctions, and help with the construction of a light water reactor for energy production. Both parties complied with their treaty obligations until 1996. U.S. Congress began delaying funds for the oil shipments and light water reactors and failed to reduce economic sanctions as promised. As a result, North Korea reactivated the Yongbyon facility in 1998, and the Agreed Framework officially broke down in 2003. This course of events suggests 2 fundamental shortcomings of Clinton's dovish approach towards North Korea. 1. Lack of follow-through. 2. Yongbyon was initially only closed but not dismantled, thus allowed North Korea to restart its nuclear program at relatively little cost. Overall, North Korea benefited from its nuclear provocation, and through the Agreed Framework, it received economic aid, temporarily improved diplomatic relations with the United States, but pulled out of the agreement in time to maintain its nuclear program. The United States gained little from this episode. It looked divided and weak, having made a good faith effort to negotiate and failed to achieve any permanent concessions. Rather, at considerable expense, the United States had gained nothing but a 4-year delay in North Korea's nuclear program. The takeaway from these events was that North Korea could not be trusted.
Number 2.
The Bush administration took an entirely different approach to the North Korea problem. Rather than seeking an agreement with the hermit country, the Bush administration sought regime change, deemed necessary because of North Korea's membership in the Axis of Evil, as a country producing weapons of mass destruction. Indeed, rather than building on the Agreed Framework, which was suspended but not yet repealed when Bush came into office, the administration declared that not only complete and verifiable nuclear disarmament, but also a reduction of North Korea's conventional weapons were a precondition for negotiations. In 2003, North Korea finally withdrew from the NPT and, in April, admitted for the first time to the possession of nuclear weapons. These events prompted the 6-party talks between the United States, South and North Korea, China, Russia, and Japan in August of that year. However, having learned the lesson of the Clinton era, the Bush administration adhered to its dismantle first, talk later policy. These 6-party talks stretched on for years, punctuated by nuclear and missile tests in 2006, until North Korea finally withdrew from the talks in 2009. The net result of Bush's hawkish policies was little better, if not worse, than those of the Clinton administration. The Bush administration failed to achieve an agreement on denuclearization. On the contrary, the North Korean nuclear program progressed to the point of a successful nuclear test in 2006, and another one only a month after its withdrawal from these 6-party talks in 2009. The Bush administration's declared goal of regime change also failed. Bush clearly underestimated the North Korean regime, which turned out to be surprisingly stable. In economic and diplomatic terms, the administration could hardly have squeezed North Korea any more than it did.
Number 1.
Obama offered negotiations in his inaugural speech, but North Korea responded with missile and nuclear tests. The administration quickly changed to a policy of strategic patience, essentially a commitment to denuclearization as a precondition for talks, conducted in close alliance with Seoul and other members of the 6-party talks. Washington did engage in bilateral negotiations with Pyongyang, producing the Leap Day Agreement, which fell apart only 3 weeks after it was announced, because of a failed satellite launched by Pyongyang. While South Korea was much happier with the Obama administration than it was with the Bush administration, the attempt to have China exert pressure on North Korea clearly failed. The UN Security Council agreed to toughen sanctions on North Korea in response to its most recent tests, but China was reluctant to put too much pressure on the regime for fear of destabilizing its isolated neighbor. Ultimately, the nuclear test and rocket launch this year proved that the Obama administration was no more successful than its predecessors in stopping the progress of North Korea's weapons development. However, Obama appears to have learned from China's and Bush's experiences. The policy of strategic patience did not give anything away without an irreversible concession in return, Clinton's lesson, and did not engage in fruitless efforts at regime change either, Bush's lesson. None of the three presidents were able to stop North Korean nuke and missile programs. As time went by, the technological competency of North Korea improved and ultimately resulted in them being able to successfully test nukes as well as long-range missiles. The important aspect is that none of the American presidents used the military option, and the intelligence agencies advising the presidents could not correctly evaluate the pace and maturity of the North Korean weapons program. President Trump has come to office at a time when the situation has escalated too far, almost to the brink of war. It remains to be seen if he can do what the previous three presidents could not. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this. Hit the like button if you find the video interesting, and kindly provide your feedback in the comments section. This will help us improve.